Welcome everybody to another Saturday morning with the Art Clinic Online. We're here with two amazing painters, Barbara Gruber and Robert how do you say your last name?
Knudsen.
Knudsen.
Mhm.
Knudsen. Okay. Well, I know Barbara pretty well. Barbara was our 2 weeks ago our artist du jour, talking about some of her paintings, figurative work, gorgeous paintings. So if you haven't had a chance to go check out her Art Clinic Online video, you can do so by going back into the archives of our talks. She did a fantastic job 2 weeks ago. She's going to be introducing our artist today, so I will pass the baton to Barbara, and she will introduce this week's artist.
I caught the baton. Okay. So I've known Bob Knudsen for a long time. I met him in at Catonsville Community College. We were both students, and he was always a standout. And I just remember, we were always being told to work large, and Bob never worked large. He always worked small. He just had his own idea of what he wanted to do. And to this day, I can hear our professor say, "Gruber, Mr. Knudsen paints small paintings that look big. You paint small paintings and they look small." So Robert was inspirational. I wanted to be able, I think we all wanted to be able to paint small paintings that looked big, that held their space. And Bob has always held his space. We were never in the same class after we left Catonsville. We went to MICA at different times, but we studied with many of the same teachers, Mark Carnes, Jim Hennessy, Barry Nemeth. And I really wanted what Bob had. And I asked him to come paint in the landscape with me after we graduated, and he did. And we developed this kind of friendly competition. And it would be like 20 degrees or 15 degrees. And Bob would say, "I'm going to go out and paint." And I would think, well, I can't let him get ahead of me. So I would put on my duck boots and my onesie that I got at Cabela's, which Bob introduced me to Cabela's. And we would go to some frozen farm and we'd work till our fingers and hands got numb. And then we would take a look at the paintings and we talk about them. And he always would give an honest assessment. You always know where you stand with Bob Knudsen. And it was great. It was a real, it was a really good relationship. Sometimes we'd go back to his house and we'd look at the paintings, and his wife, Gail, would offer her opinion. And that too has been transformative. I have changed my thinking. The things that Gail Knudsen has told me. I threw out my tube of permanent green light, for one thing. And I have begun to paint my wrinkles. But he's always looking for ways to improve. He's always looking for ways to simplify. He's also a master carpenter, and he's built all kinds of things that make painting easier, more accessible. He's offered some to me, and he showed me how to do some of it, and it's incredible. I use this stuff all the time, and he's just a stellar human being. He offers his skill, his time, and his resources to help not only his friends and family, but the greater community and the world at large. And I believe his paintings are informed by his humanity and his intelligence, his determination, his generosity, and his honesty. His paintings are direct, they're exuberant, and they're full of light. And they make you feel something. You want to be in them. And he does this with an economy of means and a fluidity that I can only dream about. He also knows when to stop and when to scrape. And I will stop here and offer this to Bob Knudsen.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Barbara and Jordan, for inviting me. So I'll get started. I want to talk about a little bit of my history. I was born into a building family, third generation builder, and came up through the business, which is known as a muddy shoe builder. So we were active in the field and in the office and design and all of it. So I started out, as a laborer and a carpenter's helper, carpentry, masonry, supervision, excavation and hauling, product design and drawing. And then I started to become interested in architectural rendering. I talked to the man who did architectural renderings for our business. They called him Haphazard, and his name was Arthur, but he's terrific at that job. And so he taught me some things, and I started to become more and more interested in, watercolor and then finally some oil painting. And then I took some classes from a local guy in Ellicott City, Gary Robertson, who was a terrific watercolorist, and he's in Virginia now. And then decided at some point to go to Catonsville Community College, which I did. I was about 34. Met Barbara there, and then went on from there to MICA, which was a terrific experience. I was a little bit worried about going there from the very beginning because I hadn't been to school in a long time, and so I decided to test the waters at Catonsville, which I did. It was a terrific program. When I met the people over there, I was convinced that was the way to go. So I started there, and then so my whole life, I've really been making things, whether it's building houses or building small things or furniture or whatever, and developed, some skills, sometimes without even knowing it. You just keep doing things and you develop a set of skills. So anyway, the painting world has taken me to some interesting places. I was called, some guy saw my paintings from Martha's Vineyard, and I went up there and fooled around up there and painted for a while. And then I was I did the Klots residency in Brittany, France, which was really nice. And so, I paint Key West. In fact, I keep a whole set of materials there. And I paint up in Little Compton, Rhode Island. And so I have 3 complete sets of equipment, one here, one in Ocean City, Maryland, and one in Key West. And I'm going to show some of that equipment here because I've modified it. And, because painting, especially as you get older, can become a struggle. It's a little bit hard work. So anyway, I guess we'll get to some of this stuff. So I started out, with a regular half French, French easel, full French easel, and then I went to a half French. And then, so I liked it, but as time went on, it seemed to be too low. Now I probably could have gotten another easel that I could have adjusted, but I really like the easel that I have because I can basically go out in the field and set up a studio, almost a full studio. So, and we'll share that picture later on. Stacy, do you have that picture of the umbrella that you can share?
Yeah.
Okay. So I wound up modifying the French easel by extending the legs. I actually rebuilt the legs. So it's about 5 inches higher. And then the tricky part, there it is. So that's my setup on the beach. Now, when it gets really hot, I'll set up more than one umbrella because of the reflection of the sand, the sun onto the sand, and you have to cool the entire environment. It's very difficult to control with one umbrella. So that's basically a setup. Okay, Stace. Okay. All right. So what I did, I don't know if you can see this. The first thing I did was I made, because I got caught in the rain several times. First of all, I put these strips on the bottom so it'll straddle the drawer on the easel. And then here's the top, which actually acts as a tray. And here's the pallet. And then I just close it up. And I put wing nuts on it. So then this becomes something that I can carry along with the other things and get in and out easily. Okay, then the second thing is I paint small, so I don't need something gigantic, but this is a paint box that I made with drawers that slide out. So I put the wet paintings on the drawers and slide it right in. And because I'm painting on 3/4 inch material, it doesn't move around. If it moves around, it's not going to ruin it if it hits the top a little bit or whatever. So this winds up on the cart that I have. So what I'm going to do now is try to back up and show the whole arrangement. If I can get back far enough space here, maybe that help.
Yeah.
This is so helpful to see.
Okay, so this is my beach cart that I use. And this thing will get me anywhere. It's gonna have to bring that thing up. Okay, can everybody see that? Okay.
Yes,
So then the first thing I do is put this wet paint box down because so it'll get everything up off the wheels. Then put the pallet down. And the easel. And because I don't know about the rest of you, but when I'm painting, I sometimes get so involved that I don't even want to go find a tube of paint that I need. And so I, wind up putting it off a little bit. So I built a paint box with nothing but paint in it. And I have a notch out on the bottom so it fits in on top of the easel. And then finally, I have my paint bag and then a bungee. Can everybody see that well?
Yeah, I can see your camera. I can see from here.
Okay.
amazing.
All right, so that's it. Now, for anybody who doesn't, I think that's good though.
Okay.
For anybody out there who does not do landscape painting, you need a lot of tools. Because for one thing, I paint at the beach, so a lot of things start to rust. It's tough to get them open and close, even paint tubes. So, they don't rust, but they tough. They can be tough to open. So I carry a pair of pliers, utility knife, small screwdriver, bug spray, sunscreen, clamps, bungees, a viewfinder, and a canister for turpentine. So that's it on those tools. But it is like when you're out there in the field, it's like a laborer's job, and you really have to be equipped. You got to be ready, for anything. I also have, I didn't show it, but I have a rope in here. Because sometimes you have to tie the easel off. Now, the thing I like about this setup is when I put that tray on the back, and if you want me to display it, I will. I'll set up the easel and show you. But when I put the tray on the back part of the easel, and then I put my paint bag and other things on there, it weighs it down enough so it's not going to blow down. And so, but I keep the rope just in case I have to tie. Sometimes I'll tie it to like the wheel of my car or whatever. So, all that stuff is pretty important to have. So Would you like me to set it up and show you how the thing sets up if I'm standing, or is that enough?
Sure. Well, I have a question, Bob, and maybe
Yeah,
this will
okay.
help you decide.
right.
How long does it take you to set up?
Couple of minutes. It depends, I mean, getting to the location is really the chore. Once you get there, it's easy. Because I do it so
Right.
often, and just goes
Yes.
together. And
You're kind of automatic in your
yes, right.
disassembly and reassembly.
So I do want to show you one other thing, and that is on the easel. I had to extend the back leg. So, and you just can't extend it. So I had to take some parts off another easel and expand it. And so I can make it either the standard size, or I can add this to it. And then I drilled 2 pockets into it, so this fits in and doesn't move around, won't fall off. So,
Have people asked you to build one for them?
excuse me?
Has someone, a student or someone else, a colleague, asked you to build one for them?
No, I built the palette for Barbara. But in painting, I hate to say it, but I'm pretty isolated, except for Barbara. So anyway, so that's that. Now the thing that I've been doing lately, since I retired. I retired 5 years ago, and it took me, or 4.5 years ago, it's taken me this long to adjust. Had to work out some details with my father's estate at some point. And so that took a long time. And then just adjusting to the idea of retiring was, and I didn't even realize that it was kind of, not, I wouldn't say difficult, it's just an adjustment. So now I spend, all my time doing a variety of creative things. So do a little bit of writing. I play the guitar and I take guitar lessons. I write a little bit of music. And then I just did a project that involves, well, here's the project. I mean, it's weird how it evolved. I decided I was going to put a fireplace in my house. And so I don't really have the room for a true working fireplace, and I wanted it to look like one. So I have a double wall in my house, the bearing wall, and then there's a dummy wall where it has ductwork. And so I had to make sure that I had some clear space in there so I could get at least a 4 to 6 inch depth on the brickwork. And so I did. And so we started building that. And then in the process, my sister-in-law said, "Hey, there's some sunflowers down at this field in Westminster. You ought to go see them." So we went there, and it was $1 a stem to cut them. And so no matter whether they had 3 or 4 or 5 heads on them or whatever. So I cut 20, brought them home, and we had to actually go out and buy waste baskets to put them in because it was so much, so much volume. So anyway, so I did 3 paintings of those. Then while I'm working on the fireplace, I said, man, wouldn't it be nice, because it's not a true fireplace, to have something in there that ties in with the sunflowers and creates the feeling of a fire. So I did a drawing, and then I sent it to a guy who did some metal work. He's an iron guy, and sent it to him. And he said it was too artistic for him. He did iron rails for me years ago. So then he referred me to a guy, and this guy was actually on Forged in Fire. So, which is a show about making knives. So anyway, yeah, he said he could do it. So Stacy, so here's the sketch I sent him. And so each flower, there are 4 flowers, each one of them has a candle positioned behind it. And then there are 5 places down at the base that are for candles. And this thing is 3 layers of depth. So you have the posts at the outside, and then the 2 larger flowers and the 2 smaller flowers behind. And then so Stace, let's show maybe the picture of the guy's hand with the flower. Okay, so this is where he started building this flower. He sent it to me and said, this is the idea that I have, for part of the flower. What do you think? So I said, I love it. So then he sent me another picture of they're the beginnings of the flowers. Okay. So he's working on them, and these have to be forged, and so then what do you send me next?
That's the only ones that I have.
Okay. All right. So then the next thing is I'll show you what I did with the fireplace and the paintings. So there's one of the paintings over the fireplace. And so where those 2 little candles are at the hearth, that's where this iron arrangement is going to be. And then this door up here, the glass door, is actually a working door, so I can open it, put things behind it. Okay, so then let's show the other paintings, I guess.
And is that one of your paintings on
It
top?
is.
That is large.
And that's the trash container.
That's fantastic.
Okay. So there's another one.
But when you're making paintings, what are your kind of goals and thought processes? Like, what do you aim to convey with your oil paintings?
Well, primarily in the landscape. So these are, something that was a little bit off in my thinking and so forth. But when I'm painting in the landscape, okay, of course, what you realize after you paint for a while is that your vision, the thing you imagine you're going to come out with is almost never the same as what you wind up with. So I think what I try to do, and it's very simple, there's not a lot of complication to it. I try to get to the external senses, through this visual, to then finally get to the internal senses of memory and imagination. And so that's basically the whole thing. So I sit there, and I saw, for that, I could paint anywhere, anything. And so that's basically what it's about.
And how do you choose your subject matter? Do you kind of just wait for other people, like for instance, at the beach, do you wait for people to kind of show up in your line of vision, or do you kind of search out?
No, they come and go. It happens so fast. And then sometimes I'll set up, and then somebody will set up in front of me, or I'll be painting a figure and that person will leave. Then somebody will set up, either take down an umbrella or set up an umbrella, whatever. So, but I've learned, you just go with it. There's nothing you can do about it. And sometimes it makes it better, because you just scrape that out and you put something else in or whatever.
And when you're working on the figure in the landscape, and that person's gone, but you're maybe halfway finished, do you usually remove the figure and try again, or kind of leave an impression and wait?
Well, what may happen is that someone else will take that person's place, and then I just start to work from there. And that's that actually is a little more dynamic at times. Stace, let's go to another.
Do you ever use a photograph?
Excuse me?
You ever use a photograph?
Never. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I just think that this is, it's more interesting. It keeps my attention. That's from Key West.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It looks in the human and the sunflowers too, that you kind of favored some backlighting. Is that, do you do
Yeah,
that?
and I think that's probably true of a lot of the landscapes. Yeah.
Hmm.
There's one. Okay.
And what is it about the beach that is kind of, why is the beach your kind of place to work? Why is it?
Well, it may be that when I was a kid, we would go to the beach. My father was in the building business, and he had his own business, and we would go, and I loved it. And we spent 4 days. That's it. And when we got there, he was champing at the bit to get home. And so I always missed it, and I thought, man, if I could ever get back here and spend a lot of time, that's what I do. And so that's what attracts me to it. I've loved it since I was a kid. My father's friend used to go, and his family would go with us, and he taught us how to ride the waves and that kind of thing. And so just a great experience. And I think that's what attracts me back there all the time.
So do you have a house on the beach at all?
I don't, it's not right on the beach, but it's there. It's in Ocean City. So, we just go there and I load up the stuff in the back. And well, there's this little beach right here. This is actually in the community. And so I can walk down. It's, maybe 30 seconds walk and get right there and bring my stuff. And, everything's flat there. So there's a boardwalk there. So just move the stuff right on and just set it up. And when the family's with me, we set up 3 umbrellas. So it's like it's like a little oasis.
I imagine there's a lot of kind of dialogue between beachgoers and you. And did it take a long time to kind of overcome the crowds of people watching you paint? Because this, out of all the locations that I could think about, setting up an easel and start painting beach would be a tough one.
Well, I was very nervous about it at first, and for a long time it distracted me. But the longer you paint, and what you realize too is the best places to paint are where the people are. Everybody goes there because it's a beautiful location or whatever, and so it's almost really unavoidable. So now what I found is that sort of my role is to have a little conversation with people, and they're very excited about seeing me on the beach, talking to me. Now, sometimes it goes too far, and then I have to, excuse myself and get back to painting. But for the most part, and children come up and they just love it. So that's a really great thing for me. And I don't join any of the paint outs or anything like that. I just don't want to be involved in that. But I don't have a problem painting anywhere in front of anybody anymore. Let's go to another one.
I imagine there is a wealth of photos of you painting from many
People take photos and they send them to me. Yeah, so that's that's a funny thing. And somebody else, I do have some crazy things that happened. There's a guy who came up to me in Ocean City. I was painting at the life-saving station, which is down at the inlet. And the guy said, I'm involved with this life-saving station, and I want to talk to you and get your picture on the front of our newsletter. And I thought, yeah, okay, So then he starts telling me about that he was in jail or something for some altercation with his wife. And he just got out, and I thought, man, this guy's crazy. So he asked me for my address and all that, and so we talked for a little while longer. And like a month later, I get this newsletter in my mailbox, and it's the Life Saving Station. It's a picture of me. I thought, wow, this guy's legit. So anyway, but I have other things. You become almost like a bartender out there. People tell you all kinds of stuff. So it's unexpected.
When you're in different locations, I noticed that you're switching to, architectural things, houses in this situation. Does your palette at all adapt to your location, or do you have a pretty standard array of colors that you use no matter where you are?
I have a standard array of colors, and then I just go from there. So I'll alter, whatever it is based on the subject. But I don't change my palette ever. And that I built a large palette just because I really hate to have, something that I'm working on as far as a color, and then it's not enough. So I overdo it when I mix color, so it's a little more than I need, and that kind of thing.
Well, it's nice. So I see a large palette like the one you're using for this, but you're also working on maybe a canvas that's maybe a third of the size of your palette.
Yes.
Is that kind of a piece of advice that you give to other painters, that maybe that your palette is kind of a reflection of your painting in a lot of ways?
I think it's just as I said, when I get out there painting and the reason that the palette is the size that it is because first of all, I have a touch of OCD. So when I get out there painting, I get so involved in what I'm doing that it's very difficult to dip into things and do other things while I'm working on it. So I want that palette to be ready. The one thing I would say to anybody who's learning to paint is try to make, because sometimes it can be difficult, try to make your life as a painter as easy as possible with your equipment, with whatever clothing you have, and make sure that you put yourself into the position that you're not going to give yourself an excuse to not paint. If you have all the right things and you're fully equipped and it's easy to get the stuff there, you're going to paint. If you say, oh God, I got to track down this, or I don't have enough paint, or whatever, you're going to make an excuse not to paint. And so I think it's good to that's why, as I said, that's why I have the large palette. I don't want to be fooling around looking for any paint or any space to mix color. I want it all there.
How many hours are you out on the beach when you're doing a painting, typically?
Usually maybe 3 hours. Yes, because it just gets so, a couple things you deal with out there is wind, which tires you out, sun, heat. So it has to be limited to a degree.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I was very intrigued by no photographs. And so a couple of questions. How do you deal with shifting clouds, light? Does sand get into your palette? And do you ever paint in the studio or finish up in the studio? Or is it really you are so devoted to the field?
I'm totally devoted to the field. I don't come back. I don't touch anything up. But shifting clouds and things like that, sometimes I alter things as I go. Sometimes I put it down and leave it. But I think for the most part, I'm altering things all the time because things are changing. And then, the tough part is when and I don't even care about this, but sometimes it'll happen that, especially when I was younger and I could paint a little longer, you're working maybe sometimes from morning into the afternoon and everything's shifting and I'm just going with it. So, and then in the end, it becomes one painting, but there are many things happening as far as the light goes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What about sand in your colors?
Sand? Oh yeah, it's full of sand at times. And then sometimes the painting I only had 2 that were ruined because normally what'll happen is if it drops face down into the sand and you pick it straight up, and then you let everything dry, you can brush it off. Now, sometimes if it hits hard, it'll just get embedded in there and there's nothing I can do. But that only happened with 2 paintings. It's happened a lot. And then the wind blows and but I just leave it. And then, it makes it a little more difficult to move around. I don't use any medium. I use Grumbacher paints because they have, a lot of oil built into them. So the medium is sort of there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Stacy, let's look at
And
some.
Bob, what do you do in the winter or when the weather is bad? Do you not paint those days, or do you?
I paint. I have it's called a Alaska Extreme suit that I bought. Let's go to another. And it bought it from Cabela's, and the thing is just terrific. It's well insulated. I've had it for maybe 20, 25 years.
Showed all of them.
You did?
Uh-huh.
No, there's a bunch of them that are beach paintings.
I know, I've been showing them as we've been.
Oh, you
going.
have? I didn't even notice. Okay.
Hold on,
We would love to see it.
What's that? Oh, well, do we have time? I can get it out of the basement.
I have a quick question just regards to thought process. Let me start from the beginning. I think when painters who are more representational driven, people who kind of work from life, I guess the mindset is maybe that even though you're painting representational subject matter, the mindset is very abstract in terms of shape and composition and maybe in placement of the figures. Do you find that's an intuitive or a conscious kind of thing when you're laying out your composition, that you're looking for the abstraction, or is it more about the representational subject matter?
I think what happens is that in my experience, I started out and that was a very conscious thing. And I think as you move through life, those things become intuitive. It becomes the balance and shape and all that kind of stuff becomes ingrained in you. And so if I go out there and paint, and even later, even as the painting's going, I feel comfortable just altering things and still feel good about what's going on in the composition. So in the beginning, it's hard because you have to try to map everything out, but then later you have so much experience with looking and seeing the balance that it just comes. But it's a struggle. I remember the first oil painting I did, I went out and I couldn't control it whatsoever as far as the composition. It was everywhere. And I came back and I said, good God, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do this. But then, I stuck with it and you just keep developing that. And sometimes I paint without drawing. Sometimes but most times now, I spent a period of time where I didn't do any preliminary drawing. And that was good for, I think, training my mind as far as composition and those things. And then, so now, I know what the composition basically is when I go out there and I look at it and I say, this is what I want. And I put some lines down as far as, the horizon and things like that, and then go from there. So I do sketch a little bit, and it helps me control it. That's all. I just don't want to go out there and have one vision and come out and not realize that. Do you want me to get the suit, or do we have time?
I think we do, if your basement is accessible.
It is.
How big is this painting?
How big? I'm sorry, this painting?
Yes.
Size of this painting?
Size of this painting is, I think it's 9 by 12.
Looks bigger, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Stacy, do you want to take my place for a minute?
It's almost like you would like
Excuse me
this.
for a minute.
No problem.
Okay.
It's just a commentary. I'm wondering if he should display the picture, the art and the palette together.
I'd like to see more of the paintings. I know I could go on his website, but I would love to see more of the work also, if it's possible.
Hey, Stacy, can you show us that back wall that's hiding?
Yeah,
behind
that would
Bob?
be great if we could zoom up more. to
Yeah,
see-
I can do that.
I'd appreciate that.
Can you see his wall?
Now we can.
Hold on, he's coming up with his Alaska suit.
Stacy, what do you notice as someone who's been watching him paint for so long? You know, has there been any changes to his style over the years?
Definitely. I think that just his personality has changed too. He used to not really like to talk to people, but now he will talk to more people. But I think his style has gotten more intricate. Like if you look at, hold on, let me show you these paintings over here. These are like by his house. Like they've just become more detailed, but they're so small. Like what Barbara was saying, like he just loves these little teeny tiny ones, but they've just become so detailed and you can see like every little thing and just it's been, I mean, this is all I've known my whole life is him being an artist, and this has been, his passion. So
it's, I think what if I may, Stacy's right, but what you don't really see is that he makes you think that he's painting all these details, and he has this ability to simplify so that one brushstroke says about 17 things. And I don't know if you can get to that. Can you get up close to those little window-like paintings that you're looking at right now, Stace?
Oh, I'm back.
Can you hone in on those windows?
Tell me when.
There. So lift it, put your computer down a little bit so that it's more on the screen. So I don't know if can you see that? I mean, it's just paint. I'll be quiet now.
Okay, so
That begs the question, Barbara, how do you do that? How do you, in a small paint, or maybe Bob could just answer this for us, but like, how do you achieve that level of detail without actually adding detail? What's the magic to that?
I think it's just experience. I think and it's a drive to get to something that's, an economy of means, and something simple but complicated. And I think that's what if you work, you have to work a long time. You're not going to get it overnight. And so, and I just think that's you have to pursue it with that in mind, that you're trying to make something out of nothing. And that's the cool part about painting, I think, is that, you can build all kinds of stuff, but when you go out there with a surface and paint and you come back with something that's really alive, it's, if you can achieve that, it's tough. And most of the times it doesn't happen, but that's what I'm going for. And it just through hard work and then also being involved with somebody like Barbara, because I don't think I've ever met anybody who is so determined to come out with her vision, whether she knows what her vision is or not. I think she's just very determined to get out of there, and she's got these standards that she must meet. So it's my relationship with her has really improved my painting greatly.
And do you scrape out a lot of your paintings, Bob?
It depends. If I do them over a series, like a period of time, yeah. If I'm just doing a one-shot deal or even two, no. So it depends on, like sometimes, it'll dry and I'll scrape back through it and then go over it. And then, it becomes interesting because the surface becomes interesting. So, but it does depend on the length of time that I spend there at that particular thing.
Shall we see the suit?
Oh yeah, the
To
suit.
find it?
Pull the suit out.
Well, before we do the suit, I got to do my boots. Okay, so those are my boots.
Turn them to the side, the light is hard. There you go.
Okay, so these I can wear, I do wear socks, but I wouldn't even need them. And I can stand out there for hours and hours and hours.
I think they're duck hunting boots, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they, look, yeah, that's why my brother bought them for hunting, because they sit for hours.
That's great.
This is a one-piece suit. Can you see it well?
The light is hard, it's making it like really.
Okay.
And can you move in that?
What's that?
Can you move?
Oh,
in that
yeah,
way?
it's comfortable. It's got built-in suspenders. Stacy, you want to move this back for me? Maybe they can see the whole
So
thing.
I'd advise anybody who does this, spend the money and get the expensive one. He got the one that cost more. I got the cut rate one. It's like 10 pounds heavier. It's not as agile. It's not as good. The one that he's got, that's the one to get.
And what is it called?
She said, what is it called?
It's Cabela. It's made by, or it's not made, but it's sold by Cabela. It may be made by them, but it's called Alaska Extreme. Now, I don't know if they still have it.
Okay.
Yeah, this was at least 25 years ago, I guess. And after 25 years, and I've worn it a lot, it's still in great shape. So it was worth it. Now, my brother got it for me, or my mother, but my brother talked to my mother about it. So, and it was like $450. So it's expensive, but it's worth it.
And I can't even fathom just going out and painting. I am such a fair weather plein air painter, so if it's not fall or spring, I'm rarely outside painting. But what about painting winter is worth the cost of doing it? Let me put it that way.
First of all, when you wear this suit, okay, the idea is that your core is warm, and so the blood is not leaving your extremities and coming back to your core. So you feel comfortable. Okay. So then if I'm out there in the brisk air, in the wintertime, can be more beautiful than the summer. So, it's about, you go out there in your car, and you're looking around, you say, wow, I think I got to get back out here and paint. And so, and most of the locations, like I'll be driving down the road and I'll see something. I say, maybe I want to come back and paint that at some point. So then, when I decide that maybe it snows or something, and it hits, and I say, that place that I saw, I think I'm going to hit that. And so most of the times, just from that's how that kind of composition develops. The ocean's a different thing because you get there and things change all the time. But when you can see things from the problem with the road is that you get a little over ambitious because you say, this is a great composition, but then you can't get it from another location other than the road. So you have to get either close to it, or forget it and go find something else.
Do you have any other questions for our artist?
Are you
Someone-
painting every day outside?
Excuse me?
Are you painting every day outside?
I have periods where I paint every day, but I'm like right now I'm not painting because I'm like trapped in this thing with the guitar. But once that eases up a little bit, I'll be back out there painting.
Have you done barns from the road? The whole barn,
Yeah.
like with silos and the whole deal.
Oh yeah, they're terrific.
Yeah.
In fact, I did a series of them here in Ellicott City.
Do they show up on your website? I'd love to see more of your paintings up close.
I'll have to put, I'm getting older and I'm retired and I'm not really putting things anywhere on. I mean, okay, so I'm in a gallery in Key West. I'm in one in Little Compton. I'm in one here in Ellicott City, and then one it's not a gallery. It's a consignment shop in Fenwick. But other than that, I don't have much of an online presence. But I mean, if somebody wants to, I will share. However, anybody wants me to share it, I'll share it, and I'll get more paintings up somewhere and post it. Jordan, I guess I can post it with you or something.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, I'd love to see.
Oh, thank you.
I would like to see some close-up of your actual paintings behind you. Would that be possible?
Yes, you're talking about with the just right now, or
Yeah, no,
Okay.
right now. Sorry.
I wonder if I could. Can I turn this camera around?
No.
No. I got my technical advisor telling me that I can't turn the camera around.
Bob, do you also teach at all, or
I don't. Let me see. Can you see? What can you
Yeah.
see?
Yes, we could.
Yeah, back up a little bit, just a little bit. Okay.
Back up a little more, just a little more. There you go. And put the computer up a little, down a little. There you go. There you go.
Okay.
Is your studio visitable?
It's in my house, so yeah. I mean, if somebody wanted to come over, sure. Let me move over to this one. This is one that I.
Good, put it down a little bit.
Is that it?
Very nice.
Can you get closer?
Right, put it down a little bit.
Move the yeah.
There you go.
Camera down a little.
Is that good?
Yes, now we can see it.
Okay.
you have any tips on painting clouds? Because I think that's one thing that
What a good question.
painters kind of struggle with when they're in the landscape.
I would say avoid white. You know, the thing about white is it's so complicated. And I think painters who are just, you know, who aren't that experienced, I think they see white in clouds and hit it white. And there's so much, you know, you got to dull it down. You've got to be willing in the shadows of the clouds to, you know, somehow create a color that is dark but still luminous. And, you know, it's a matter of trial and error. You just have to keep, you know, mixing and looking. And I think, you know, you build a cloud and it fails, but you learn something from it. So I think that, you know, I think that's what I mean. I struggle with that even now, you know, I mean, but you have to look at those shapes in the clouds. You have to see the light and shadow and then work on it. And sometimes you have to scrape, sometimes maybe come back the next day. But that white is a killer.
And
You know,
how do you
because-
make yourself not see the white so that you can see the other colors and luminosity?
I think again, it's experience and time. I don't think you can just go out there and do it. I think, you know, you have to fail a whole lot, you know, and be frustrated or whatever. But it's a good thing, you know. I mean, if you're willing to stick with it, that's the failure is not a bad thing.
I suspect that the way you got so good at insinuating detail with a little paint must have been with a lot of early failures. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I can't
Yes.
see any other way.
And then Barbara telling me, "Hey, that's a complete failure, Bob." Barbara.
Well, only a couple. It's not true.
But no, but it is really, it's dedication, I think, is if you're going to become good at it, first of all, you have to, there's no substitution for desire. You have to have a strong desire because there's so many obstacles in your way. There's, you know, physical things, there's feeling of failure, feeling of maybe you don't fit in as a painter in the beginning, whatever it is, but you have to keep struggling through all that stuff. And if you're passionate about it, I think you get beyond it.
Do you keep some of the failures just to be able to see progress?
Well, I did. Now, but you know, what happens is over time, you just don't have any space. like I have probably 300 paintings up here. And so, and so you have to do something with them. So I just put 2 groups of paintings up to see, what I could throw away. And so I went through it and I got rid of a bunch of them and never even thought about it because I'm moving forward, and that stuff is just history.
And
I'm sorry.
Bob, I'm sorry, are they all on board that you constructed?
No, well, they were on MDO, medium density overlay plywood, and then that stuff is heavy. So there's a Da Vinci series of panels, which are good, and they're on. I guess it's I guess I get them at Jerry's, and so Jerry's Autorama, and some of them have a rough texture, some of them have a medium texture, and I like both. And what happens is I'll get that rough texture and it'll be too rough. And I'll just take my palette knife and just start scraping a little bit and I'll get it down and then I'll feel it and I'll get it down to the right texture that I want and then go from there. Because otherwise it also does a thing, if it's too rough, it'll wear out the brushes. Yeah, it ruins them.
So do you buy the cradled Da Vinci now? Or
Yes.
do you? Yes.
So it's like, I can't remember what the depth is, but it's like 7/8.
I think it
including
comes in a variety because I've been buying them too.
Those things are fantastic, really, because they're lightweight. They're for me, they're not too heavy to fit into the box. And what I do is because I have I've seen some easels where they hold it out and you can paint, to the edge. Now mine, is not. It's sort of trapped in that ledger. And so what I'll do is I'll back it up with another surface behind it, with the same thickness that gets it out, and then I just, just clamp it, in place, and I can paint because I don't like not painting to the edge.
And I see black, a thin rim around some of the smaller ones behind you. Is that something you did?
Yeah, it's something I did, and the frames that are on the sunflower paintings, I made those too. So
and the white
show one of those sunflower
below.
paintings. We're going to show one because it has a black lattice liner around it. And then it has.
Yeah, but this, you can't see it on this one.
No, yeah, but go to the fireplace.
Oh, okay.
To actually bring the painting. Thank you.
No, well, it's downstairs. I could, but we're going to bring the picture up in a minute. So what it is it's just a piece of. Can you see that well enough? It's a piece of black lattice that surrounds it to create, almost like a floating effect. And then it's a piece of 5/4, which is in this case inch and a 16th, that I painted the green to match the, some of the other stuff in my house. And then the outside is a piece of 3/8 by inch and 3/4 stained piece of clear white pine. And it's all just, nailed on.
It looks great.
Thank you.
When are you getting the ironwork?
I tried to push him a little bit to get it for this, and I didn't. But he has his own schedule. But I don't want to push him really because I want him to feel comfortable in doing it. So I'm probably going to get it maybe this week.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
and he's an artist like you are, right?
He's an artist. He absolutely is. And what happens to him, like most people, is has to make a living. So he has to take commissions, and some of them that he obviously doesn't want to take, or it bores him or whatever. So when I gave him this, he said, "Oh my God, this is going to be the best thing I do this year." For him, to satisfy his own artistic.
It's a beautiful design.
Thank you.
I look forward to, would you be able to send Jordan or me a picture of it when you do
Oh,
get
yeah.
it, so we can like post it or something?
Oh,
That
sure.
would be
When I get
great.
the whole thing done, I'll send it to you. And as I said, it'll probably be this week, and I'll send it, one during the day and one at night. With the idea also with those flowers is that with the 4 flowers, it's to come through those holes, but it's also to reflect back onto the back. And so, it's hopefully it will take the place of a fire and have that kind of live
With the
feeling.
candles, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Those
that's
crazy
wonderful.
candles, it's wild. We went to Pottery Barn and got candles that are that are lights, and then they have a flickering thing, and you swear when we sit there,
Yes, they're amazing.
it looks just like a candle. And then it's a remote control operated, so you just go on, turn it on, boom, everything comes up.
Whoa. That is wonderful. Bob, you said earlier you retired recently. Did you retire from building?
From building.
Okay. Oh, I see. So that was sort of your main source of income.
That was my source of income. Now, one thing I do is, so the income that I get from art, I take the sales figure that I get. So whatever percentage I get, and then I donate 40% of that to a charity. So it'll be, and I have 5 charities that I like. One of them is St. Jude, and mostly children's things. So I'll donate that, and then the rest basically pays for materials and whatever.
You are amazing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. This has been a lot of little gems in here for people who are just getting into painting, or especially plein air painting, and those kind of adapting to conditions. So I really enjoyed the words of wisdom that you've got in there. I'm surprised that you're not a teacher, actually, in a lot of ways. Maybe Barbara can get you to do guest critiques and stuff here and there.
Hey, I'd like to do that. Sure.
Yeah.
He's a good critiquer.
I bet he is.
And maybe you can bring Gail.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Gail's a good critic.
Gail's
Of course, we're going to have some tears, but
it wouldn't be a critique without a few tears.
Right.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us.
Right.
In 2 weeks, we're going to have Sandra Arkin, who is a kind of installation mixed media sculptress. She just got finished up with a show at the AU Cats and Arts Center, The Human Flood, with some other artists. So I'm excited to hear about that experience. But it's open to everybody, so please continue to invite friends, and we'll keep our community going. So thank you everybody for being a part of it today. And thank
you very much. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you
so
Barbara. Much. This was wonderful. Really appreciate it. We'll put up the recording edited from the chit chat and in the next couple of days.
Okay.
So you'll be able to see it and share it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And if you're around tonight, 6 to 8 at the Stone Tower Studio for Ephraim Rubinstein's pastel work, we'll be here with wine. So
fantastic. I wish I could be there.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
You too. Thank you.